In today's video, we're going to show you how to install PPF 3 different ways on a black mirror. So here's the deal. You got several different ways. Like this mirror in particular is really not that bad, but black cars tend to be a lot harder. I think the reason being is you'll see more working marks. You might have chicken skin or like dry spots. And part of the reason is you have to stretch it out this way, and then you also have to stretch it out that way. When you do that, it basically compresses whatever soap was there, and when you compress, it dries out a spot. And when you do that, it creates something called a chicken skin. So I'm going to show you how most people will do it. So I actually have several solutions over here. Here's the first method. I'm going to use the same PPF film. We're using Avery Dennison film, Supreme PPF. So this is straight up slip. This is going to be a ratio of 5 mil over 1,000 mil. That's typically what people use. And here's the other thing. You could actually heat it up, use hot slip if you want. And then basically, we're going to go ahead. I'll show you. I think I'm just going to guess what most people are going to be doing. Okay? Could be wrong. I might be wrong. You know what? Most people will be better than me at this because I'm not really. The thing about gloves, I've been working with PPF all day today, so alcohol really gets my skin dry. Gotta wear gloves. Okay, so I got my piece right here. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and lay it down. I got my straight up slip. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, they're gonna use straight up Tack, which is typically 80-20 alcohol to water. And then they'll tack this corner. And that's a decent corner to tack to. Not bad. Okay? And then what they'll do is they'll pull this way. And then they'll spray Tack all up in here. And then they're gonna pull. They're looking at both these areas. And then they're going to go this way. Okay? Not bad, right? I mean, decent. There's no working marks around here, but I'm going to show you something. So you can see there's actually not that much here either. You do want to give it a good amount of force when you're doing black mirrors. Okay. So I think this is what I'm talking about. Let me get some close up. So what happens right here is where I tacked it and then I stretched it, there's a lot of tension. So you'll get this mark that goes like this. Because you're stretching across, you tack this area, and you get all this sort of working marks or this silver lining. So now I'm going to show you a different technique. So that was, I guess, number 1. We'll go ahead and lift it up. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and use straight up alcohol, 70% alcohol, right? And then we are going to be using some slip on the top level, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and just, well, I should tack here. Okay, here's the thing about alcohol. It really works well when it gets to tacking. You got to work a little faster, I think. So one thing I made a mistake on right now is I would put a little bit more material so I can pull better. But anyway, this is for demo, so I think it's fine. Okay, here we go. And then once you get there, you want to go really hard. You got to move fast, by the way, guys. And then kind of like, this is where. Okay, so that was fantastic, right? So obviously there's a little bit of I should have stretched a little bit more, but like I said, I'm going to be honest. I would put a little bit more material so I can pull a little bit better. It's a little bit harder because I had so little to work with. So that's what I would do if I were trying to do this for real. But here's the thing. I'm going to just wipe this down and I'm going to try to get you guys close-ups. But look at this mirror. No working lines, no working lines. Absolutely clean. So that is actually a really good method. The only caveat here is you just want to make sure you move pretty fast. And when you do the strokes, be intentional and pretty hard. All right, now the third method that I'm going to try, I'm going to go ahead and lift this up again. Okay, and I'm actually going to use new film because I did put alcohol on it. Tends to kind of sometimes not burn, but it kind of could, you know, disintegrate the adhesive layer. Okay, now I'm going to use something called gel. And I think this has gotten a lot more popular. And one thing I want to kind of show you with gel is if you look at the properties of gel, look at this. It's a very like distorted look and it's thicker than water. And it looks similar though to alcohol, and this is why I think this works really well for black mirrors. So this is a gel that we're actually testing. You could actually go pretty heavy on this. And then we're gonna do the same thing that we did, the same technique. We're just gonna use new film. And this time I'm gonna make sure that I put a little bit more right here. Okay. Okay, great. There we go. So this is still gel right here. This is the gel that I've basically put together. I mean, you could still use slip for the outer layer. And then I want to do the same thing. Going to go ahead and pull this. Here's the beauty about gel, is you definitely have more time to work on than really anything else, because it kind of floats the film around. So I do think it's a great tool, and then I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and watch what's happening right here. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it down. And once I'm comfortable, I'm going to do the same thing and go all the way down the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and go up. I'm going to be honest, gel has a very similar consistency like alcohol, like straight up alcohol. And you'll notice what I mean is hopefully you saw it on the camera, where you can kind of see it kind of floating a little bit. Whereas like the slip kind of just has this consistency of like bubbles everywhere, right? Which is, I mean, it makes sense. Okay, so here's the next part that I want to be, all this, if you wanted to tack even more, you could actually just use water, okay? But you can see right here, look how near perfect this mirror looks. And even like right here, I have a little bit of a bubble. I'm gonna see if I can use some gel again. Yeah, I got rid of that, wherever that kind of lifted up. That's crazy. Okay. Got a really nice edge right there. And then I'm gonna actually grab some water real quick. A lot of times when you're working on black mirrors, this is my go-to. I either use gel or 7% alcohol. Honestly, 70% alcohol is just as good in my opinion. I do think the gel has a little bit of an advantage where I think you have a little bit more time. It feels weird using straight up alcohol, but I'm telling you it works really well. And you can see the results show for itself. And right now I got this kind of popping back up. And I'll show you what I need to do for gel and also actually alcohol when you are working with it. So I got the bottom, I'm actually keep this one. And this is just, like I said, this is just straight up water. And make sure when you're doing water, you're using good water. And what I mean by that, there is a difference in water. You want to use basically distilled water, or you could also use, I use like a deionized water, or I got a filter over there. And that's really good stuff. And then let's see if we can get our knife, flush that out. Okay. And when you do that, look at that. Everything just stays down. I got a little bit right here. All right, so what are some of the cons to alcohol and gel? I think alcohol, it dries up your skin like crazy. So if you're gonna use alcohol, I would highly recommend wearing some gloves. The smell can be a little strong, especially 7% straight up alcohol. Gel, it can be a little messy. You're gonna get it all over your floor. You can rinse it out, but that's probably the #1 complaint that you'll have in using gel. But if you're working on black mirrors, this is my go-to strategy. Hopefully this helps someone else. We're gonna go ahead and get this trimmed. All right, so now that we have this sitting for a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and make our cuts. Typically, the normal way is to basically go, I like going a little bit inside because we want all the front facing area completely protected. So let me go ahead and get on focus mode. All right, let's make sure everything is good. And then I'm gonna cut the inside. So let's go, cut time. Right here. And then you want to get your water again, since we use gel, and then spray all of these edges down. Amazing. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and fold over this top edge to get a little bit more coverage. So what I'm going to do though is I am going to trim it just a little bit. And there you have it. And then of course, we got all the way here. We're gonna go right to the edge. Before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and last bit of basically flushing it out. So all this, if you wanna cut well, you just wanna make sure everything is completely flushed. So I'm pretty happy with all this. So I'm gonna go all the way out and then go here. Like I said, it's gonna fold over. On my knife, just a really quick click. Go inside right here. Okay, I'm just looking at my line one more time. There's a couple soft edges right here, so I just want to make sure. And just tear that. What you're basically doing, guys, is you're just scoring. You're not actually going super aggressive or anything like that. Great. All right. So now, since we got it all flushed out, when I do that, what happens sometimes is it's gonna create moisture on all these edges right here. So we're gonna go ahead and just make sure that all this is gone. And then we're gonna go ahead and fold this over just a tiny bit. And that's really what you want. Okay. And notice I'm just really rolling that thumb, right? And I actually have some, there we go. More flip. And honestly, if you have to, you could actually move the mirror outwards so you get a little bit better angle like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this real quick. All right, I just don't want a whole lot of fingers. And then it just kind of, oh yeah, this looks so good. So what's gonna happen, and hopefully you guys can see this, is there's gonna be this tension, and it's gonna start to curl up right here, because even though we stretched it quite a bit, there's still areas, right? So all you need to do now is go into this divot, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start right here, and then there's a groove. Okay, just like that. And then you could also do the same thing. Right now I have very, very bad visibility because this light is absolutely blinding me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just put my blade in there. And what you want to do is maybe turn that off. I just can't see because it's so blinding. I'm like blinding myself. Okay. Jesus. It's okay. Okay. Where's the? Okay. Mirror's completely done. We're going to do the final bits of sealing all the areas. And I do always want to go back. I saw a little bubble right here. I want to check right here. So I would say gel and alcohol was by far much better. You can see that there's very, very little. Actually, there's not really much of a, I think there's a little bit of chicken skin. I mean, it's very light. And part of it was when I stretched it, it kind of pulled back. And the way to actually fix that, guys, is to basically have more to deal with, because I had little. I really should have had a longer piece. And when you do it, you're pulling here instead of pulling this middle section. And if you do that, you're actually not going to have what I have right here. So that's my bad. That's my mistake. I own that for sure. But yeah, very, very low. And there's actually no contamination. And that's part of the thing why I think gel and alcohol works a little bit better, is it floats the debris a little bit better than I think slip and tack. So, I mean, we have thought about bringing gel, and we're kind of still thinking about it for DIY. I'm not really sure. Like, it might be worth it. So this is something that we have been actively thinking about. But we're definitely considering it, especially for like black vehicles. But wanted to kind of teach you that in today's video. But if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. This was a fun video to make, and hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you later. Subscribe.